is not happening. Let me call this dude.
Hello?
Phil. Oh, circus. I wasn't on last week. I'm not on this week. What is going on?
You're kind of on the show right now.
That's not what I mean. Well, while I'm here, let me holler at our listeners and let them know I will be back next week for episode 17. But in the meantime, in between time, I need all of you listening to follow and like us on Instagram. We got something great coming up. Comment on our Instagram post this Thursday about the new Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Y'all remember when I talked about the book a couple of weeks ago? I'm blown away by this book, and I know you will be too. It's vital. It's indispensable. Feminist Frequency is going to pick 3 people to receive a copy of this book. We're going to save 3 of you a trip to the bookstore. And Phil?
Yes, Ebony?
Since I'm not on the show this week, let me just say this. Good people of podcast land, please enjoy episode 16 of Feminist Frequency Radio with Anita, Carol, and our very special guest, Irene Tu.
Welcome to Feminist Frequency Radio. This is episode 16. I'm your host, Anita Sarkeesian, and I'm joined by someone still recovering from Timothée Chalamet's loss at the Oscars last night, Carolyn Pettit.
I don't want to talk about it.
And a very special guest, comedian Irene Tu.
Hi.
This is the show that asks you to be critical of the media you love, or alternatively, we're the feminist killjoys coming for your media, depending on your perspective. On today's show, we're going to talk about the 90th Academy Awards and discuss the new sci-fi film Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, Gina Rodriguez, and some other folks. We'll finish the show by each sharing a little something in What's Your Freak-Out? And as always, exclusively for our fantastic drip backers, we'll be recording a bonus segment. This week, we're going to get to know Irene a little bit better and find out about the Man Haters comedy show she co-hosts every month. Everything Feminist Frequency produces, including this very podcast, is listener, reader, and fan-supported. Thank you for helping us stay on the air and on the web. If you want access to special perks and exclusive backer awards, join our podcast community at d.rip/femfreak. Now, on with the show.
So I have a question I wanted to ask, actually. So Anita has on her Twitter, she has a banner that says, trust no man. And occasionally...
Twitter loves that.
Twitter loves that.
They think
they
it's
totally
the
love
best
that.
thing ever.
And so occasionally she'll get tweets from angry dudes saying that her Twitter banner is sexist against men.
And by occasionally, Carolyn means literally
all
every
the time.
fucking day.
I was wondering, so with the Man Haters comedy show, do you ever get like honest anger or frustration from people who think that that's like a sexist name?
Oh, you mean literally yesterday?
God,
from
it's
this
so
troll?
predictable.
Yeah, who lives in Australia, supposedly.
I love Australia, the supposed country.
Does Australia even exist?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a real country. Oh, yeah, they commented, get rid of man-hater name. It is offensive.
Wow.
And then my co-host just commented under that, no.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's
I
perfect.
mean, it seems to me, right, just because I do sometimes want to answer those people who, when I see them, I mean, I never do because I know it's pointless.
You don't care about me.
No, of course, but I know that it would be pointless. But it's like, but I think, the truth is that if you're a man who acknowledges that patriarchy exists and has like a critical analysis of patriarchy, then you get it. Like it shouldn't bother you, right? Because you should be to some extent in on the. I mean, it's a joke with an element of truth,
yeah.
but it's a joke.
I feel like it's just dudes who have bad relationships with their moms.
Sure,
that could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I like the men who are down and get it would never leave like they're just
right.
like cool,
yeah.
Or if they feel uncomfortable, they keep it to themselves, right? Like it's just the shitty dudes that are like, oh, reverse sexism, and you're like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I think it's funny, and so does literally like every other woman I meet loves that necklace. I once got stopped in it was last year at CES in Las Vegas where there was a guy working he was what's it called when you he was controlling traffic flow of like shuttles and that sort of thing, and he loved the necklace so much that he called his wife over, who was also working at CES, to come over and take a picture with me with the necklace. It
Wow.
was
That's so cool.
spectacular. It was so good.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the news and main subject of the week,
Yes.
which is the Oscars.
Yes.
So we forced Irene to watch the.
You forced me to watch all of the Oscars. I generally watch like an hour of it.
Yeah.
But I watched
No, you had to
4
watch all
hours
of
of it.
Yeah, the whole thing. Which Ebony is delighted beyond anything I've ever seen her be happy about to not have to watch the Oscars. So thank you for suffering in her place.
I mean, it was fine. It was just so long. And then it's like I only really needed to watch like the last
Yeah.
hour. The first like 2 were like, oh, it's what are
But
these
you never
awards?
know what's going to happen. You
It's
got to watch
true.
the whole thing.
I know.
Because Twitter's
Another-
not going to recap that
Yeah.
for you.
Another like 5-minute montage of movies to make me like movies when I'm watching the thing that's already
was
a
so annoying.
giant celebration of movies.
So annoying. They didn't do that before, right? I feel like this was like
I felt like it was more extreme this year,
Yeah.
maybe because they'll have like a little like films here and there to celebrate.
it was like every time.
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
It's also a really weird mix of like good and terrible movies. So every time I was like, oh, that one,
Yeah, but there are probably all films that have been honored by the Academy.
I'm
like,
sure,
almost all of
yeah.
them like were. So like especially before Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Actor, Best Actress, they did these montages where it was all performances that had won that award before. And I had the same reaction. I'm like, oh right, that shitty movie got an Oscar or whatever,
Yeah,
'cause
and it's
that's
also
just-
it's a little bit of a reminder of how bullshit the
Yeah,
Oscars are.
totally.
Like we watch them and they're like it's an institution
Yeah.
for sure, but it's also like and that's part of the conversations around award seasons lately in terms of like who makes up the Academy and who makes these choices. Like in our work Slack last night while we were all watching the Oscars and chatting together, we were like, Carolyn called a lot of the wins because it's so predictable what the Oscars will choose, right? Like they fucking love World War II movies.
Yep.
And they also love movies about themselves, right? Which this year didn't have that, but in previous years, there's very much always the writer or the filmmaker and the story about how hard it is to be the writer and the filmmaker. And they're like, oh, give it all the awards ever, right?
Yeah. So it's this, I have this complex relationship with the Oscars because they're kind of bullshit, but they're also, we have to acknowledge that they do send a message to America and to the world, kind of defining what cinematic excellence looks like,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And that message is important and impactful, even if we think the awards themselves are founded on bullshit, which they are. And so it is like, it is exciting to see way more, for me, it's, for instance, seeing Daniela Vega on stage last night, even though, she didn't win, she wasn't nominated for her performance and she didn't win for her performance, just having her be able to get on stage when A Fantastic Woman won the best foreign language film.
She's the first trans woman.
Yeah, she's
ever be on stage openly. I think.
I don't know if that's. I haven't.
That's what
that
I
up,
heard from Twitter.
Okay.
So take that as
so
fact checking.
in any case, it's like, oh wow, a transgender Chilean woman is on stage at the Oscars right now.
Twice.
That's kind of
Twice, yeah.
that's kind of a big deal. There's those moments where it's like, as much as I feel like this is complete bullshit, at the same time, I feel like there's real importance in seeing it not be so dominated by white dudes, year in and year out.
There was a thread on Twitter about all of the queer folks who won awards or who were on stage that was not insubstantial.
Yeah.
And then there was the joke that
Jimmy Kimmel?
Maya
Rudolph.
Rudolph and Tiffany
Haddish,
was making about being oh, there's too many black folks, right?
Yeah.
As a counter to how there was too many white folks, and that actually the joke landed because it did feel real. It did feel like there were many more people of color visible and present. And this brings up this conversation that I get asked a lot, and I ask other critics and folks in the media a lot of is it actually getting better, right? Are we seeing more inclusive representations? Are we seeing different stories? Because we can name them, But is that true? And is the Oscars also representing that as the sort of like higher echelon of excellence in filmmaking, right?
I don't know the answer to that. I feel like they're doing better, but it also feels like they're like, look at what we're doing.
Yeah,
100%.
a lot of lip service.
Like
and,
when
yeah.
when I was watching the Oscars, a lot of time I was like, this feels like gross because they're like, oh look at all these people.
We're so great. We're being so progressive.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, you're just doing it like this one time. Like, I don't really know what you're doing behind the scenes besides the Oscars.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know how many movies you're going to fund when this, quote unquote, maybe it's just a trend thing is over. And they're like, oh, we can just make the new movies that we always made before.
It was really interesting. They had the montage of, folks like Kumail Nanjiani and Gina Davis said, oh, when Thelma and Louise came out, everyone was like, oh, there's going to be so many more movies with women now, and it didn't happen at all. And she's like, but now is that moment. And I'm still not convinced, but I mean, I'm hopeful, but it's still not. It's, only time will tell if that's actually going to manifest.
It's a tough thing where, like we've been doing this work for so long that it's really hard to accept that it's getting better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and that, I mean, I'm sort of playing my cards here a little bit, but also recognizing the, like, it's been so bad for forever, right? For a very long time that, like, this little bit that we're getting in the media in terms of representation, in terms of acknowledgement, like, Jimmy Kimmel's opening monologue, almost every joke was something related to representation, right? It was, there was this, I thought this joke was really funny, but where he's like, Me Too and Time's Up is about stopping harassment at work. And then he goes on to say, women will only have to deal with harassment everywhere else that they go, right? Like, too true, right?
Yeah.
The jokes about Black Panther, like, there's just a lot of, there was another one that said, I remember a time when executives couldn't picture a woman or minority as a star of a superhero movie. And then he's like, and that was last March, right? Yeah. So, like, I liked a lot of the opening monologue. I thought a lot of those jokes were really funny. And so, but it does come back to this, like, are you trying to get a cookie for this? Or, like, is it, like, if they didn't do anything, I think we would complain about that. Sorry. Well, but whatever. Yeah. I didn't mean it like that way. I think that these conversations are really important. But, so there's this tension for me in terms of, like, there's so much more content, quote unquote, that, like, is it just a numbers game and are we self-selecting the things we're interested in, or are there legitimately more positive representations happening? I actually feel like I should have come more prepared in terms of, like, who the stories were about in terms of the Best Picture Best Picture nominee. So, like, Shape of Water was about a woman, 3 Billboards was about a woman but super fucking racist, Call Me by Your Name is about queer folks, Lady Bird's about a woman, Get Out's about a black dude, The Post is about...
I mean, I
feel like it's all white people. From
It's
the
all white
trailer.
people.
From the trailer.
It's all white people.
Phantom
Meryl Streep,
Thread is a white dude, Dunkirk is a white dude, Darkest Hour is white dude, right? So, like, better than most years, but still,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was, and another thing about that montage.
You keep saying montage, and I keep
sorry,
the montage.
the specific one where
it's montage. Just the way you're saying it keeps ringing in my ear like you're making a joke. Okay, keep going.
So what Kumail Nanjiani said was something like, for my whole life, it's been like white dudes have been centered in films just relentlessly. Now, you might go to a movie and you have to relate to me. It's not that hard. I've been doing it my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's very similar actually to a lot of the things that the discourse around video games, as they've kind of gone through this growing pains and cultural battles, is like all these white guys so resistant to broader representation in games, but for people like me, it's like, look, we've been fucking projecting ourselves onto these, like, white male heroes our entire lives. You can fucking do it. You can empathize with and project yourself onto, this black woman or this, like, whatever, Latino dude or whatever the hero of the game is, you know?
Oh, totally. So some of the people, so there's some interesting wins last night. There was a lot of skepticism around Get Out and if Get Out would ever win anything. And there was a lot of really shitty comments that critics had made about, like, previous to this, about how it's just like, someone said something around like, oh, it's just like an 8-minute SNL sketch. It shouldn't have been a movie, right? Like, just really.
Someone said that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's recorded on the internet
Oh,
because they're idiots. I don't know who it was, but like just really patronizing shit like that. And so I like literally screamed with joy alone in my apartment when Jordan Peele won for Best Original Screenplay. Like that is, we're talking about how the Oscars really does send a message about what is excellence in film making, regardless of if we agree with the parameters of it or not, or who gets in. And like, that's huge. And really super valuable.
And also, I mean, so absurd that he's, I think, only the second black person to be nominated in that category.
Yeah, and the first to win.
The first to win in the whole 90-year history of the, like, are you, don't tell me there isn't, like, structural discrimination in the movie industry if, like, he's only the second black man in 90 fucking years to be nominated for that category.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, unbelievable. But yeah.
Yeah, what else? Frances McDormand, I think, was one of the sort of...
She was kind of like the
quote, unquote,
favorite.
show stealer in
Oh,
terms
sure.
of like what her speech and stuff.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So Frances McDormand is an amazing actor. Like she's...
Oh, for sure.
She's great. That movie, as far as my understanding of it, having not seen it, was very racist. And very unapologetically racist. Like, it wasn't trying to make a commentary, it just was.
It's certainly a film that sympathizes very strongly with a racist police officer while kind of marginalizing people of color as characters within the film itself, right? So you get this redemption arc for he won the Oscar,
Sam Rockwell.
for the Sam Rockwell character. You get this redemption arc for him, but actual characters, and he's a racist cop, but actual characters who are people of color, the film, it doesn't concern itself with them all that much.
Yeah. So, like Sam Rockwell playing that character, both times he won at the Golden Globes too, didn't say anything about like racism or structural injustice or anything like that. So when Frances McDormand won, I was like, cool, you're a good actor, but also I don't want this movie to win anything, unfortunately. And even though like 3 Billboards was the favorite for so many of these categories, but she did use her platform to talk about things and like, look, so she tells all the women who are nominated for anything to stand up, which was a very small amount of women. Like, let's be honest, like there weren't a lot of people who stood up in that theater. But I did get kind of emotional, like watching that, like being, there were so many moments in. Not so many. There were a couple of moments where the person saying the nominees specifically called out that there was only one woman nominated in that category, which I thought was kind of powerful, actually.
These
like
4 men
Greta
and Greta Gerwig, when reading the directors,
But so Frances McDormand ended her speech by saying, "I've got 2 words for you: inclusion writer," and everyone was like,
what is that?
What is that?
Inclusion writer?
Yeah,
writer?
we were like, is it
What?
right? Because I was like, I know.
Well, I knew it was like a writer in a contract.
Yeah.
But I didn't know exactly what she meant by that.
Exactly. That's why I was like, did she mean writer or did she mean... Because writer, like a writer is your demands for what you need to do a thing, right? So that's actually a really cool moment because everyone started Googling and was like, what the fuck is an inclusion writer?
Right.
Which is when you write into your contract that your casting or that your crew and casting and the like general environment of the film needs to be inclusive in terms of who is being hired.
Otherwise they won't.
Exactly.
You won't.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I think it can also be stuff about commensurate pay. Like I think it's possible for that to be in there as well. So is so. I mean, that with those 2 words, like she gave the stars in that audience, particularly like the white male stars, a practical thing that they can do. If like, oh, you want to pay me $12 million to be in your next movie? Well, it's like, I think I don't know if they'll act on it, if they'll take her up on it, but it's a practical and just really powerful thing that they can do to start affecting like real change in the movie making environment.
Yeah, totally. What else? Any other Oscars thoughts? I was really disappointed that Shape of Water won. I screamed.
I haven't seen. That's the one movie I didn't see. Well, besides like Dunkirk,
do you
but
love
I'm like, that's a
fish
war
romances?
Well, I know what the movie's about, but I haven't seen it yet.
So,
Grinding
if
Nemo
you
was
ask-
the best joke.
Grinding
Nemo.
If you ask me, it's a deeply affecting story of outsiders, people persecuted by society who come together,
Nobody's
find
asking you,
some
Carol.
connection with each other, and help each other to fight back against the oppressive structures in which they live. If you ask Anita, it's a movie about fucking a fish man.
Not just me, okay?
I mean, yeah,
a lot of people.
So
Wait, okay, but
Yeah.
so would the movie have been as good if the lady didn't actually fuck the fish?
it's
No.
part of the romance. I mean,
Okay.
it's a romantic
So
fantasy.
you couldn't have the same movie if like she just like hugged the fish.
No, I don't think there's
Because I
anything.
feel like that's what people are upset about is that she fucked the fish.
I don't think
That's
there's
Finding
anything-
Nemo.
I don't think there's anything.
That hugging
the
the fish
hugging
is
fish?
Finding Nemo.
I don't think
Shape
there's-
of Water is Grinding Nemo.
I don't think
Okay,
there's anything
like
wrong with the fact that she and the fish man are intimate. I
So,
don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I tweeted despair at the fact that this movie won. So here's the thing: regardless of whether I liked the movie or not, I think with the other contestants, it wasn't the strongest film.
Yeah, no,
overall.
I agree.
Like I don't think it should have won Best Picture, not just because I didn't enjoy it, but because all of the components.
Yeah, I mean,
of it.
I wanted either Get Out or Call Me by Your Name to win. I knew Call Me by Your Name didn't really have a shot. Nobody was talking about it as a contender. Get Out won the Independent Spirit Award the previous night for Best Film, and for like the past 4 years prior to this, that film has always gone on to win Best Picture. So I was like hopeful for Get Out, but it didn't happen.
I have to say, like, because I was upset that Shape of Water won, and I got gently called out on Twitter, which I appreciate. That there's value to a Mexican man winning the Best Picture, like that in that role. I just.
And I mean,
and the other thing too is that I struggle, and we've talked about this movie on the podcast. The other thing that I struggle with too is that, like, yeah, it is a movie about inclusion and insiders and outsiders, but I just didn't like the way it was done, right? And
Sure.
so I think that I kind of forgot that a little bit in my it's a movie about fucking fish. Like I forgot that there are pieces of it that were really meaningful to people, and seeing those representations and seeing the message in it, I just didn't.
It didn't resonate with you.
It's not just that it didn't resonate. I don't think it was done. I don't think the story was done well, right? In terms of what it was trying to do is all. So I think I'm sorry for being dismissive about the importance of that.
I didn't love. I liked Shape of Water. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was Best Picture, but I do think Guillermo del Toro is like, a lot of the word visionary gets thrown around a lot when describing filmmakers. I mean, I would legitimately use the word visionary for him because his films are often so unusual, so idiosyncratic. They bring to life bizarre creatures. They create amazing worlds. So, I think he's a very interesting filmmaker, even though I don't love all of his movies. Like, I'm glad he exists. I think he does interesting work, and I'm okay with him being honored, I don't think he's like a trash filmmaker by any stretch. I think he's
a trash person.
A trash person.
Well, I don't know him as a person, but no, I definitely not.
Yeah.
One movie that Carolyn and I went to see recently was Phantom Thread.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really... So I haven't seen all of the Best Picture contenders, but I wanted to like squeeze in as many as I could last minute. And I was really like surprised at how much I liked that movie, even though I expected to not like it. And so like it only won one award, which was for costume design, which like it was obviously made to win costume design. It's about fucking it's about dresses. It's about a dressmaker,
yeah.
Right? But that was a movie just to sort of... I'm trying to collect my thoughts about it, and I might write something for the website because it's sitting with me in a way that I didn't expect it to. And because of that, I wish it had won a little bit more, like in some direction. Like, I think the sound design in it was phenomenal and wonderful. But again, the Oscars are so tough because there's such steep competition for everything, right? Like, we were talking about the category for supporting actress, and we were like, holy shit.
Oh, they were all good.
They were all good.
I mean, I know. I was like, I want all of these women to... I mean, Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird is so amazing. In the woman in I, Tonya. I love her, and I can't think of her name right now, but she's fantastic.
You mean the one who won?
Allison Janney?
Allison Janney.
Oh, she won.
Yeah, she won.
Allison Janney won.
Did she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have my notes in front of me right here.
Why did I think she didn't win?
I don't know. And she talked about her bird as a co.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Okay.
Allison Janney is just
So I'm glad. I mean, obviously, like, totally deserved, but the other nominees also deserved it.
Octavia Spencer was for Shape of Water was nominated. Just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep. Leslie Manville, who was so amazing as the sister in Phantom Thread.
Yes. Oh, she was so good.
Yeah.
she was so sharp and like she just did such a good job. She was so resigned.
But she just could. I mean, even though she had this kind of flat-ish delivery, but it wasn't flat like dull. It was flat like super sharp. Like she would just say these words and like cut. Reynolds' ego down to size in like, a sentence or two, and it was just like ruthless. And it was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's really satisfying. Her character was super satisfying. So overall, the Oscars were fine.
There was like 5 moments maybe that were like, oh, that's cool. And then the rest was like, I'm sleepy.
Which is why you just
sleepy.
need to watch the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right?
But then you don't get to experience it in real time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sufjan Stevens performing Mystery of Love, introduced, of course, by Daniela Vega, was
really amazing.
Such an emotion. Because I love that song. I love the film it's from. And
so, okay, one thing about Call Me By Your Name, which is really funny, is that
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, we had a whole podcast about
it's my favorite film of last year. Anita is kind of lukewarm.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't like that movie.
No.
But like I would never watch it again, but I want to watch my memory of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I keep, because like this is what happened last night when I kept seeing clips of it, or like, and especially that song is so beautiful. I've been listening to that song nonstop. I love the movie. I love clips of the movie, and I love what I remember the movie being, but I remember really not liking the movie.
And that's kind of interesting because I think the movie, even as you're watching it, has this kind of quality of memory. Like it takes place over this long summer, and time kind of feels like this, like it's not some super linear like this moment then this moment. It's like, oh, time is just kind of this lazy thing that's flowing forward, and so I feel like it makes sense that it would stay with you in that way. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Annihilation, which is the latest sci-fi kind of horror, definitely body horror film based on the book trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. The movie was written and directed by Alex Garland, who you might know as the writer and director of Ex Machina. But did you know that he was a writer on the computer game Enslaved: Odyssey to the West and DMC? The 2013 Devil May Cry?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what any of those words meant.
That's all right. They're just video games that are questionable but beloved. But it's just weird that he wrote he wrote Ex Machina. He also wrote the movie about the clones that I just totally spoiled.
I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. He wrote the novel The Beach. Like that was his big literary breakthrough.
He also wrote. I can't look this up in time.
Clones.
The Clones. It was
Attack of the Clones.
No, you would have loved this. It's a really slow moving. But it's good. Fuck it, whatever. I'll look it up when someone else is talking.
Okay.
Anyways, Annihilation is a movie about a group of scientists who enter a quarantine zone, and the laws of the world as we know it are all screwy. So I read the book.
Oh, you did?
I did not read the book. I didn't know what this movie is about when you said we were going to talk about this. I'm so upset. I cannot get those hours of my life back, and now I can't leave my house. Everything is frightening. So frightening.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I didn't know that it was going to be horror until I saw the previews.
That's what I'm saying. I saw just like pictures, or people were like, "Oh, I like the movie," and I was like, "Okay, whatever." I didn't know it was going to be that scary.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be a body horror film.
It was.
I mean, I feel like there was very little body horror.
But there was enough that it was fucking gross.
But things were like moving, and that is upsetting.
Fair. That's fair.
I think the movie.
Irene has her hand over her stomach right now. Things were moving.
I know it's fake, but even if it looks kind of real, I know, and I'm like, I know it's fake, but it looks real, and then it's very upsetting to me because I don't like blood even.
So
like,
was
I don't
that
like
enough
seeing hurt.
to make you not like the film?
No, I like the film objectively. I don't like the film because
as an experience.
I'm upset by everything that I experienced. But I think it was a good film, objectively. If I wasn't a person.
Right. If you could just
If you were just a
evaluate it as
robot.
like a robot.
Okay.
Well, what's interesting for me is how many people who are suffering or have suffered from depression are really talking about this film as like resonating with them really, really deeply.
What?
Yeah. So Angelica Bastian's article in Vulture, which is probably one of the things that you read, we'll link in the comment in the show notes.
I mean, I guess, for me, so Tessa Thompson's character in the film is, she's super kind of quiet, introverted, you could say. You kind of learn at one point that she cuts herself, I think, to feel. And I really wanted, I wanted more. I felt like there wasn't enough of her. Like, that was my one real frustration with the film is, I wish we'd gotten to know her character a little better.
Disappeared.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Soylent Green is people.
She turned into one of the plant people, right?
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
I
wasn't gonna spoil it, but you did.
No,
I just said
we just need to throw up a spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Spoil away.
Yeah.
I got lots of spoils coming up.
So, but it was definitely a film that, because it's so dreamlike and I think so kind of open to interpretation, really, it just keeps rattling around in my head. Like,
So I didn't dislike it and I didn't like it all at the same time. It's in this very like liminal space for me. I did read the first book in the trilogy and I loved the first book, which is called Annihilation.
Had you read it before you saw the movie?
I read it like last year.
Oh, okay.
And so when I went into the movie, I was like, man, I don't know how much I'm going to remember to be able to do sort of like the comparison. And as soon as I walked in, I was like, a lot of it came flooding back. And so there are definitely, like, I think adapting a book to film is got to be one of the hardest things. You've got to make all of these cuts. You have to make all of these creative choices. And I have mad respect for that. I think some of the choices were a little bit weird, and they did a bit of an amalgamation of the three books. So I haven't read the last two, but in talking to people who have read it, like, they're clearly wrapping the movie. Like, they're not going to do a 3-part movie based on each of the books. So there's a thing in the book that there's 2 visual moments in the book that I was really disappointed didn't happen in the movie. One is this thing that they find called the Tower. And it's really this tunnel. And like the weirdest fucking shit happens in this place. And they keep going back. And Natalie Portman's character, Lena, keeps going back into this space. They cut that out completely from the movie. And I think what they did was in the lighthouse, that tunnel thing,
right.
I think that's what they did.
Tunnel?
Yeah, which did not have the same impact or effect. Also in the lighthouse, and I feel like it's really sad that they cut the tower out. The thing in the lighthouse in the book is that she finds out that her husband is actually dead because she finds piles and piles of journals. And so I think that the way that they demonstrated him dying was totally adequate and fine and like good.
It was
very visual.
Yeah.
Like finding journals is not going to have the same impact. So I get why they cut it. I just remember that in the books as being something really profound, and like the visual of like these piles of journals and her digging through them to find her husband's journal was really powerful to me. So those were 2 things that I was kind of like, oh, that's a little bit of a bummer.
Sure.
But overall. Oh, the other thing is that they don't use real names in the book. They are the biologist and the psychologist and the paramedic and the physicist. They don't have names, and I kind of wish that they had leaned into that, because there is a power to the like inhumanity of what they're doing, and by not naming the other characters, you lean into that a little bit more. So I don't.
I feel like it would have been hard to not have the names in the movie.
Probably. I don't know how you would communicate, because the book is, I think, from the perspective of Lena.
I think it'd be hard to just watching it. I
mean, there's also, like, I feel like at the core of this film, at least certainly in the end, is the connection between Lena and her husband.
Husband?
What?
Right.
Husband.
Sure.
Oh,
I mean,
quote, unquote.
right. I mean, and I don't know. I feel like because I want those characters, even though they've gone to this place and they've been changed and maybe they're not actually quote unquote human anymore. I feel like it's easier to connect to that kind of love or whatever you want to call it if they're human enough to have names rather than like the biologist and the biologist's husband. So I don't know.
I feel like I wouldn't have connected with the characters as much through the whole movie if I didn't know their names.
Interesting. I'm curious. I'm legit. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no.
I'm just curious. I am curious how that would feel.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
So I felt like, okay, so I have some of my issues with it is that I felt like it was really inconsistent. I felt like there were moments where the movie was really good and moments where it was really not good. And some of the things I think around that were like it trusted its audience sometimes and it didn't other times. So like the scene where Lena is they're riding the boats and Lena is talking to, I think it was Cass.
Yeah.
Where Cass is like, Exposition Central, here are all the reasons all these people are damaged, when there's so many other ways to like we already knew that, right? Like there's no way you would go into this without that, and there's other ways to approach it. So those are those moments that I'm like, oh, come on. And I feel like it spent a lot of time building her relationship with male characters rather than building her relationship with the other women on the exposition in this exposition or expedition. Thank you. I was like, I know that's not the right word. Yeah. And I wanted more time in the shimmer. Like, we did not need to cut back to her having an affair twice. We get it. Like, you could convey the information you needed to convey without going back to that place.
Yeah, I guess I think that I felt like the first one, because the first one doesn't resolve itself. It establishes that there's something troubling Lena, right? Like, my sense is that she went into the shimmer as an act of love toward her husband, what was his name?
It was Kane.
And part of the motivation for that was this guilt that she had about the affair, right? And so I don't know. I feel like you don't want to play. I'm trying to find the right metaphor. Yeah. You don't want to show all the cards at once. You want to kind of let the audience wonder about that for a bit.
The coolest thing about this movie is the Shimmer universe, right? Like seeing all of the plants and the growth.
I wouldn't say cool. I would say creepy.
But I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. Like, it was beautiful in its morbidness.
Yeah. The way it walked that line or went back and forth between, oh my God, that's so beautiful and wondrous, and then holy shit, that fucking shark alligator thing is goddamn terrifying.
Like the deer with the flowers going out of it. Like that
was beautiful.
Yeah, and that's something that comes up again and again in the book.
Were not.
Agreed. The attacking creatures were not.
That's the unsettledness of this place where you're both like mesmerized and horrified and fearful. And I want more of that.
Sure.
Right? I want more of this space. I want more bonding. Like, it is a team of women. Yeah. Like scientists that are all brilliant. I want to see more of that.
Right. And then,
it did seem like they all died quick.
Right.
It was like, oh, her, like, relationship with people, and then it would cut back to, like, real life, and then, like, the interview and stuff. And then you go back to the forest thing, and then somebody just dies. Yeah. And I was like, oh, but... we just got back, and then that person disappeared?
I know. The horror movie element of, it's like, we're going to see these people get picked off one by one sort of thing was frustrating because it's like, here's this rare movie where it's like totally fronted by this amazing cast of women. But it's totally the horror movie convention of...
it's only one can survive. There can only be one.
Yeah, of course. And it's like we can talk about to what extent does she actually survive.
And that's also one of the things in the book where the end of the first book, she just rides off in a boat.
Okay.
So like all of the
within the shimmer?
Well, the shimmer is a contain, like you can see on the map in the movie. Like if you could ride out of the shimmer.
Oh, so she's like, going out of the shimmer.
Yeah. Okay. The beginning of the second book is her in the interrogation room, and so like they use that as the narrative framing to, like that was a lot of the exposition, which I understand why they made that choice to be able to clearly give information about what's happening without having to show all of the beats, right? Like she could be like, and then this happened and I felt this way about it, right? And then you cut to the death scene or whatever. Which whatever. I think that the ending, I don't know, the ending, like, I feel like it wanted a lack of clarity that it didn't earn, right? Like at the end, you're like, oh, he's obviously an alien. And then you see her eyes shimmer. And so you're kind of like, it was before you get to that point, you think that she's her because you think she fought the alien and burned the alien. And then at the end, it's like, is it her or has she been mutated? Because she talked about how her blood was already mutating. Yeah. Like I get what they were doing, but I just don't really...
Wait, there's not going to be another movie? I thought that was like now there's going to be another movie.
I mean, they did an amalgamation of all three books, so I don't think there's going to be another movie.
Oh.
Yeah, my feeling, I think they wanted a certain amount of ambiguity and just to leave it there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, okay, I really liked the ending because to me it was like, I mean, obviously those two people, they're not Kane and Elsa, what is her name? Lena, sorry. They're not.
This is not Frozen.
They're not.
Yeah, but you don't know that she's not Lena.
No. Yeah, but like,
I'm saying once we do. I'm saying.
But we still don't know.
I think she's still Lena, but Kane is just
okay.
Sorry,
I think that both of them are to some extent themselves and not themselves, right? I mean, Kane, even that Kane, we know it's another Kane because he walked out, but he obviously is made from elements of the original Kane, right? He carries with him some Kane-ness within him, right? And just as Lena, whether it is the Lena who went in there or isn't, she is and she both is and is not Lena.
Sure.
And so I feel that this is something to me, it is something about, of course, because I interpret everything through some kind of lens of love or whatever. But I feel like it's again, she went into the shimmer as a kind of act of love for Kane, and I feel like it's this thing about love changing people. Like they're not who they were, but they are, and they're still deeply connected to each other in some way, even if neither, There's also the feeling of like they both were, they're the only survivors of this horrific experience that nobody could fully understand. And so there's this almost, when she hugs him, there's this sense of like, regardless of which Lena she is or what happened to her, there's a sense of like, well, we're in this together now. And like, there's almost do we need to break out of here? Are we going to be like held hostage forever? Are we the only ones that can like understand one another? There was a bit of that. And like, when I wrote this note about the end wanting more clarity, wanted a lack of clarity it didn't earn, it didn't actually occur to me when I was watching the movie that she could just be contaminated and that it could actually be her, but her biology has been fucked up.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was just regular Lena, but then she just got like this weird thing.
Which is totally possible.
But I thought it was not regular Kane.
Right,
no,
it's
correct.
not.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
But yeah. My feeling, again, I think that's exactly right, but I also feel like both of them are and are not who they were.
The last thing I want to bring up is the whitewashing that happened. So there's an article on Vulture by E. Alex Young. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I apologize. That goes through how in the second book, the biologist, which is Natalie Portman's character, is described as having Asian descent, and the Tuva's character, Tuva's the actor. Cass, who is the geologist, is described as being half Native American. And so while there
Typical.
Yeah.
We know this was coming.
Yeah.
So while it is a cast of women, two of which are women of color, that like they still kind of whitewashed. And when you read the response from the director, he was like, I didn't know. Sorry. And like it's actually kind of a sincere response, but also a little bit like you're literally adapting the 3 books.
It was like, you didn't read the book?
Wait, that's exactly what my reaction is.
He just read,
Yeah.
He just read the script that had no...
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a... Like, I would have loved to see Tessa Thompson as Natalie Portman's character.
Sure.
And I feel like
But they're like, we gotta have a white lady be the hero,
Yes.
otherwise we won't make the money. Because it's
exactly.
already 4 ladies. Like, we gotta make the white lady the last one who's alive.
That's exactly it. And it's super frustrating because I'm like, Natalie Portman did a fine job.
Sure.
Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Natalie Portman. And
I thought she's a great actress. And she always plays that creepy role. She's very good at being creepy. Black Swan. This is like Black Swan Part 2, you know?
All right.
I'm not wrong.
That's the pull quote.
When that blood was coming out, I was like, another blood thing. Remember with the nail and the Black Swan? See? She's very good at creepy.
That's true. I don't know what it. I think I have some weird blockage because of I can't get over the manic pixie dream girl-ishness of her, which she doesn't do anymore. So I need to recalibrate. But I still think. I mean,
she's
love
also.
Tessa Thompson.
I feel like she's kind of gay. So I'm like team Natalie Portman.
Sure, if you like all gay people,
Yes.
just like unequivocally, no matter what.
I mean, I like all Hollywood not gay people. You know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. Weirdly enough,
Yeah. But it would be
Yeah.
cool to have Tessa Thompson, you know.
Yeah, and it did very much feel like that Hollywood thing of like we have to get
But
a big name white woman
for
and
sure.
whatever.
100%. It's
You
like,
know.
let's get an A-list actress who's a
Yeah.
white lady.
Yeah, which like could you imagine if the whole cast was women of color?
One step at a time. Whoa, let's not go overboard
You
here.
know, and I can already hear people being like, "It's all women. What more do you want?"
Yeah.
But it still is very much like we know that Natalie Portman was cast to give this movie a level of like star power that Hollywood still thinks it needs in order to do this kind of stuff. So, yeah, whatever.
On that same note, I probably wouldn't have watched that movie if I didn't know who's in the movie. You know, if you just like told me like who's in this movie, and then I was like, oh, well, I do like Tessa Thompson. I was like, oh, I like Natalie Portman's work, and then it was just like, oh, these people are in it. I guess I'll watch the movie. But I didn't know anything about I've never heard of this book before. I don't know if I'm just like living in a cave. I don't know anything about this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I think go see it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, like
I say go see it, but like bring a bucket to puke in.
Yeah.
If you get squeamish, bring something.
I mean, it's
or look away.
It's like
it's not the whole thing, but
No.
there's enough of it that's going to
it's-
make you feel uncomfortable. I think
Yeah.
it's worth seeing in the theaters because
I think you have to see it in the theater
the
for sure.
visuals of the Shimmer world are.
It's so whoever did the cinematography was on acid when he made this. It's so
Very much
trippy,
so.
but it's very beautiful
It's
in
so
its
beautiful.
trippiness, and I don't think you could watch it like on a plane and feel the same way about it.
No, agreed. Which is where I watched Black Swan and kept going and
yeah.
putting my hand in front of the screen, being like, I hope
I feel
nobody
like
that's
sees
one
this.
advantage. You
Yeah.
know, you could at
You could
least
just,
with
like,
Annihilation, you could just put your hand over the whole screen.
All right, y'all. Let's move into what's your freak out, Carolyn.
Yeah.
What's your freak out this week?
This week, my freak out is a podcast called Her Head in Films. Her Head in Films is a podcast done by a woman named Caitlin, and it's mostly about actually like so each week, each episode is about a different film, and it's really a film appreciation podcast. Like she will go really in depth into these films and just talk about, you know, the beauty of them, or, you know, the themes, the messages, the imagery, whatever, you know, in a really like insightful way that kind of like a lot of the films she talks about are foreign art house cinema. And even the film lover that I am, I have not seen probably like 80% of the films that she talks about. And yet I still really, as a film lover, I really get something out of listening to her talk about these films, because I think the way in which she is able to kind of appreciate them and talk about them is it's something that like I can carry with me into experiences with other films. Like it's not stuff that's, you know, I think great criticism or great analysis is beneficial, you know, beyond just the one kind of work of art or media or whatever that it's pertaining to. And so yeah, you know, and she brings a lot of very personal stuff to bear in her critiques. Like she'll talk a lot about personal struggles or grief if they're relevant in some way to, you know, what the film is doing. But in a way that feels very welcoming and kind of, you know, personal. So it kind of feels like a good friend just talking to you about a great film or a film that she loves and why. So you can find that, Her Head in Films. It's on like iTunes and Stitcher and a bunch of like the usual podcast places. There's also a Patreon for it, patreon.com/herheadinfilms. You know, if you're really into like great film, I highly recommend checking it out. It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Irene?
Okay, I'll just share this. I am not a drug person. Like, I don't...
Wow.
I love this already.
Yeah.
I don't do drugs, but I'm like, I do comedy, so there's like drugs. I guess in comedy,
I don't need drugs. I got comedy.
No, but I mean, I hear there's like
is
people
your
do
brain on
drugs.
comedy.
I hear people do drugs. I don't do drugs. And I feel like lately I've been meeting more people that do drugs, but then I don't know
Weed
how.
is legal in
No,
California now.
Not
You
weed,
mean like the
real drugs, not weed. Okay,
like Molly?
sure, or
We did not call it Molly when
yeah.
I was a kid.
I don't know what these drugs are. I don't know what they look like. I sound like a crotchety old person.
A little bit.
I'm
but
like, it's
good,
fine
it's
if the people do drugs, but then I just feel
the people do drugs.
I don't know how to feel when somebody's like, I like drugs, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Is that your freak out?
Yeah, I feel like I'm having
Peer
plus
pressure. It's the whole...
It's not like I need to do drugs, but I'm working on this new bit where I'm like, I don't know what drugs look like because it's true.
Yeah.
And then people are like, do you want to see drugs? And I'm like,
Let me be your drug educator.
and I feel like it's like whatever you talk about on stage, people are like, oh, I'm going to relate to you and then bring it up something like whatever. Like I know other comedians that like talk about sex a lot and then they get approached by dudes that are like
Oh, God.
creepy,
Ew.
you know, and I'm
Ugh.
like, it's just
Ugh.
part of the act, you know? And I feel like my version of that is like where I'm like,
So are you getting like dime bag pockets and shit of coke
I'm
handed
not
to
getting
you?
them handed to me because I
And
think
you're like,
people
I don't know
still
what
know.
to do with this.
Well, people still know I don't want to do them, I think. But now they're just like showing me drugs, and
That's amazing.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a
you
freak
gonna
out,
dive
but I'm
into
like
this?
freaking out. you know?
Sure. No, this is a good freak out.
Yeah.
This is actually very, very in line with the title of the episode of the segment. Yeah. Have you learned anything new?
I mean, I've been shown various drugs
Do
that
they
I
all
didn't.
just look like powder?
Well, I've seen a lot of powder. I've also seen a lot of mushroom-looking things.
Sure.
I've seen pills, a lot of different looking pills.
There are a lot of pills.
And honestly, I kind of thought that they would all look more magical.
No. they
You know,
don't.
like kind of like they belonged in the shimmer. It's like, oh, that weird looking thing. And they're all just like boring looking.
When you take them, you feel like you're in
okay,
the shimmer.
this I don't know, but they just look ordinary.
Or you just get really insanely like manic and iron for 3 hours.
I
the
feel
same
like
shirt once,
if
which
I
I've
did
never
them-
done that.
yeah.
That's never happened.
I feel like if
See,
I did them, I
don't-
would do that.
I
That
don't
would-
do
would-
that anymore.
Okay.
Just for the record. Not that I need to defend myself, but also I can't stand. I just don't.
Yeah.
I grew up in the suburbs, and I was
Me
really
too.
bored and did a lot of drugs as a teenager.
Well, I also grew up in the suburbs, and it was boring, but I just didn't.
You were just bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I wasn't cool enough to be ever offered drugs.
Sure.
I only get offered drugs now because I talk about it on stage.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason people are
You
like,
could make a really good side living
what?
with all the
Being
drugs
a
you're
narc?
given.
Oh.
No, and then you just resell them.
Oh, but no one gives them to me. They just show them to me.
Oh, boring.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, I thought you meant you could be a really good narc. And I'm like, well,
No.
I could also
Please.
be good at that because people keep showing me the drugs. I'm like,
I
I'm not
don't-
gonna be.
I don't know
but-
how I'm gonna follow this up.
Yeah.
I should just not have a freak out this week because that was
No,
spectacular.
you gotta do one.
I know I gotta do one. All right, I'm gonna talk about Godless.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of feel like
What
we
is
should...
Godless for people who don't know what it is?
I don't know
Thank
what
you.
it is.
Thank you. Thanks for queuing that up. Godless is a limited show on Netflix, which is just a miniseries.
Okay,
so
so it's like
7 or 8 episodes,
And it's
or
not
something.
going to be like on like
No.
season 2 or season 3.
It's
over.
a self-contained
Got it.
narrative, which I love so much. I know I've talked about this before. I think miniseries is totally the way to do TV. But all right, takes place in the Wild West And I don't really like Westerns. I was really sick when I got back from the Choco cruise, and I was like, I need to watch something and be sick. So I just put it on. I don't really like Westerns. I feel about Westerns the way I feel about like fantasy, is that it's just white dudes fighting each other for status, and it's usually the same kind of story again and again. I've since learned that not all fantasy is that way. Hashtag not all fantasy. But anyways, okay. So I have, this show has been sitting with me, and like I keep thinking about it and things keep reminding me of it. It is doing interesting things with the fact that these stories are typically about white dudes, and there's no real room for women outside of like prostitution and wives or whatever, and that there are no black folks in these stories ever. So the show is very aware of this fact, and the way that it deals with it is it has the town that is the main town that we're following. There was a mining accident that killed literally like all of the men except for like 3 old dudes or whatever, right? And the sheriff. And so you have a town of women. And so that you have stories about women and different kinds of women and women who want to do different things, right? So there's like the mayor's wife, she starts wearing pants and carrying a gun and acting quote unquote like a dude. And people are like, that's not ladylike. Why are you doing this? And she's like, we need to protect ourselves. And then you have the other women who are like more dainty and like really just want, like, who are just, whenever a man comes into town, are just like losing their shit over like just wanting to get laid and like just wanting to be with a man, right? There is a town an hour away from this one called Blackton, which is exclusively black citizens in the town, which is its own kind of thing that is deconstructive worthy. I'm not going to spoil things, because there's some stuff that happens with that. But and then one of the main characters is a white woman who was married to an indigenous man, and so she lives with her half white, half indigenous son and his grandmother, who is also from that tribe. So like there are representations in this film, in this movie, and in the show, which I think are interesting because I don't see Westerns doing that kind of stuff. I still couldn't help. The main core storyline is that you have this older dude played by Jeff Daniels, who is just so good in that role. Holy shit. And then this younger, really hot dude played by Jack O'Connell. And they're like... Frank Griffin is the older dude, and like Roy Good is the younger dude, and Frank acted like a father to Roy. And Frank is a really bad guy, and he has this like troop of people, and they murder a lot and pillage and do awful things. And so he's hunting Roy, and the whole show is about him hunting Roy, who like left him and like fucked him over, and he's like a son, right? Sorry, this was a really long-winded, annoying story, but so. The whole time, even though it has all of these other representations, I couldn't stop thinking about the quote that we've used in Feminist Frequency stuff before that says, in the game of patriarchy, women aren't the opposing team, they are the ball. So you have these women, you have these people of color, but in the end, it's about these 2 dudes. And the whole story is about these 2 white dudes. So like, I don't really know what to do with that, right? I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I will say that there's some trigger warnings for rape. There's 2 instances of attempted assault.
I'm really sick of every show just putting rape in there.
Yep, me too. So that's that. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot here to deconstruct, but that's my freak out this week. Also, our buddy Scoot McNairy is in it, who we love from *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Oh, yeah.
Who also has an illness disability, which I thought he's getting typecast.
Yeah,
clearly. All right, y'all, that is our show. You can join us back here every single Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
We couldn't make this podcast happen without our generous backers on Drip. And Drip is Kickstarter's brand new subscription-based crowdfunding platform. So help us keep bringing this podcast to you every week by joining the Feminist Frequency community. We've got some great rewards for you, so pitch in now at d.rip/femfreak. If you're enjoying this show, we have a small favor to ask. Please leave us a review on iTunes because it really helps spread the word about the show. And while you're hanging out with your local scientist friends in the Shimmer, tell them about this great new podcast called Feminist Frequency Radio. You can check out all of our work and our other podcasts at feministfrequency.com and follow us on Twitter at FemFreak to stay up to date on all of the latest news. And we want to hear from you, so hit us up on Twitter. Carolyn, where can people tell you about their undying love for Call Me By Your Name?
Please tell me all about it at Carolyn Michelle.
I am at Anita Sarkeesian, and if you want to know more or talk to Irene...
you can find me on Twitter, but mostly on Instagram at Irene_Tu. That's TU.
Perfect. Our producer is Phil Serkis, who also composed our theme music, and we'll see you next week.
Later.